This is Hercules, and he's just set himself on fire. But why? Well, to tell that story, we must go back in time to a simpler time, Olympus, home of the gods, the 12, the Olympians, beings like Ares, Aphrodite, and of course, Zeus, the lightning lord, king of the gods. And like all kings, he would take that which lay within his kingdom. Nymphs, animals, even humans. Disgusting. And one particularly sunny day, a particularly beautiful mortal erected Zeus's curiosity.
Holy Uranus. Look at that lady's anus.
Her name was Alcmene, a descendant of Perseus and the queen of Thebes, i.e., good stock. And so Zeus struck up a plan.
Perfect.
He would seduce this woman and infect the line of Perseus with his immortal seed. But why? Well, to birth a hero of heroes, a king of kings, a mortal god. And so, Zeus, being Zeus, resorted to his classic form of seduction, taking a new form. Zeus would take many different forms to seduce his unwilling participants. A bull, a bear, even a golden ray of light.
Oh, what the fuck?
But for the beautiful and most importantly, faithful Alcmene, Zeus figured another tactic would do, saying,
"Hello, pretty lady."
Zeus took the form of her husband, Amphitryon, and the two would do what married couples do, make love. 3 long nights they eloped. It was beautiful, magical, perhaps even divine. Yet once Zeus was satisfied, he did what every man does. He disappeared. Yet still, Alcmene smiled, for life was good, because her husband was good. But then, a most peculiar thing happened.
Honey, I'm home.
Her husband returned. Again.
Honey? Honey, you look as though you've seen a ghost. But I could have sworn you just left out that window. What in Poseidon's nostrils are you talking about? I've been selling these pots for the last 4 weeks. But I could have sworn I was just with you in bed. In bed?
Zeus! Now, things are going to get a little bit complicated, so bear with me. Alright, Alcmene gets pregnant with twins. One from Zeus and one from her real husband. 2 babies in line for the throne of Mycenae. But there's a problem. Another woman, also from the line of Perseus, is having a son. Now, why is this important? Well, whichever boy is born first will inherit the throne. And remember, Zeus really wants his bastard son to become king, so naturally his wife Hera does not want his bastard son to become king. She is sick of Zeus and his repeated infidelity and will do everything and anything to foil his plans, as we shall see. And oh boy, would she come up with some weird plans, saying,
how does one delay a pregnancy? Some crow's blood and a bit of wolfsbane? Elethea? Yes, Mother Goddess? Keep your fucking mouth shut. Wait, that's it. Keep them shut.
Hera would recruit the goddess of childbirth to delay Zeus's son from being born. Now, how did she do this? Well, she simply crossed her legs outside of Alcmene's bedchamber. Pretty cool. And this causes the other baby to be born first, therefore making him king and not Zeus's son. Okay, confusing tangent over, hopefully. Now from here, the two twins are born. Alcides and Iphicles, who, on initial inspection, didn't seem very different. But that all changed one night when Hera made her next move, as she sent two snakes to murder the two boys. A rock-solid strategy. Snakes beat babies every time. And so when day broke, Alcmene and Amphitryon were left with a most disturbing sight.
My God!
Alcides slew the two snakes. Clearly, he was the son of a god, but also the target of a god. So Alcides' name would be changed to Hercules, meaning Hera's glory, in an attempt to appease the goddess. It didn't work. Hera could not and would not love this bastard. Years passed, and Heracles grew and grew, becoming an adept athlete and renowned for his strength. He could toss a javelin, uproot a tree, and tip a cow, yet Heracles was not without flaws. All that focus on his strength came at the cost of his intellect. But worse than that, Heracles had quite the temper. In one particularly tragic incident, Heracles was being taught the lyre. He tried and tried and tried, yet for all his strength, nothing. And to make matters worse, his teacher Linus was less than forgiving.
I love you. You suck!
He harped on Heracles and harped, until eventually Heracles figured, why have music lessons at all?
I didn't think it possible, but you somehow got worse. Boo, Heracles. Boo! Guess you could say I am pretty tightly strung. No, but seriously, I think I've got a problem.
Heracles killed his music teacher, a fatal incident that showed his fatal flaw: anger. But for now, Heracles would calm down, take a wife, and have a family. Life was good. Too good, because one must not forget, Hera was still plotting her revenge. Heracles' strength had saved him once, but perhaps Hera could use that very strength against him. And just then, an idea flittered across Hera's mind. An idea so dark, so twisted, that a smile slowly twisted across her face as she said,
Zeus? Yes, my love? Bring my potions.
which ones? There's like a lot.
Just bring all of them! Oh. We lost the wolf's bane.
Heracles returned home from another normal day. He wrestled, he ate, and he exercised. But this normal day wouldn't last. Heracles' front door was ajar.
We having a gangbang?
Yet the halls of his home seemed empty.
Honey, I'm home.
Cried Heracles, but there was nothing.
Honey?
Nobody. Not a single human soul. Until suddenly, Heracles did find a soul. Monsters. And they were inside his house. Clearly they'd slaughtered his family and eaten their bones. Probably defiled them too, thought Heracles. The red mist descended upon him as he let out a great roar. Hercules split one of the beasts in half while the others fled. But the athletic Hercules could not be undone as he tracked them down and slaughtered them all. Blood covered his red-tinted glasses and rage filled every cell, nay, every fiber of his being.
Finally, you bastards have paid. Now I just need to clean off my glasses. No. No. It can't be.
Hercules had murdered his own family, committing perhaps the greatest sin in ancient Greece, familicide. He was tainted, corrupted, vile, deceived by an illusion from Hera. Society shunned him and none would go near him. Children pointed and parents despaired.
Mommy, it's Hercules. Get his name right, or he might murder you.
Clearly, he was a far greater monster than any dared slay. And so, Hercules had but one path forward.
I'm sorry?
Atonement, repentance, sacrifice. So he left for the oracle at Delphi, the mouthpiece of the gods, to look for guidance. She informed Hercules that he must travel to Tiryns, the capital of Mycenae, where his own cousin Eurystheus sat upon the throne, the very same baby that popped out before him. And there he must repent by completing 10 tasks, 10 labors in 10 years. And then, perhaps, Hercules would be free. And so he made his way to see his cousin. Yet this man was quite different than Hercules. He was weak, cowardly, and cunning. His beady little eyes moved with frantic abandon, and he trusted nobody. Most of all, this heroic Hercules. He'd show this upstart. He'd give him a task no man could complete. As he said,
A lion. A lion, sire? Yes, a lion. Big mane, cat, eats people. What, have you got too much protein powder in your ears? Oh no, that's just the blood of my wife and children.
And so Hercules was given his first task, the Nemean lion. So he left to track the great beast. He spoke to villagers, he found footprints, and he smelled poo-poo. But eventually, he found the beast's den and tried his luck. No good. The beast's hide was impervious to all mortal blades. So Hercules tried option 2. He made a protein shake, tore off his shirt, and began wrestling the great lion. They tumbled to and fro until finally the beast fell. Hercules would use its own claw to make a pelt and return to the king, who said,
It's no wonder lions are endangered. Even Atticus here could have slain it.
What?
But this next task will be far greater. Snakes.
Apparently Eurystheus didn't know much about Hercules.
A big snake.
And so Hercules was given his next task, the Linnaean Hydra, a great serpent whose venom could kill a wild boar. Hercules approached its lair with caution, and he found the vile creature and prepared for battle. An unfair battle, for Hera was at it again, placing a crab into the Hydra's waters. A giant crab. Not fair, but Hercules had no time for fair. He tossed back his lion skin cloak, leapt with ungodly speed, and pulled out his club, and the great cancerous crab fell, and now all that remained was the Hydra. Adrenaline pumped through Hercules' veins, and with a great swipe, he killed the unwieldy thing. Labor 2 was complete, as Hercules remarked.
Boy, that was surprisingly easy. If I keep this up, I'll be done within the year. Maybe 2 years.
It turns out this Hydra has a unique ability. For every head you cut, 2 grow in its place. Chop, grow, chop, grow, chop, grow. On and on this went until finally the Hydra looked like this. Not good. Hercules, for all his strength, could do nothing. His feeble mind could think of no solution besides swing club, and it appeared that Hercules' adventure would be over as soon as it had began. As he said,
For all my strength, I can do nothing. I'm doomed.
But then, aid came from a most unexpected place.
Don't give up, Hercules. I've got a plan. Who the fuck are you?
It was Aeolus, the very son of the evil king. He admired Hercules and wished to earn glory by his side. But unlike the low-intelligence Hercules, this young chap was quite smart. As he said,
Fire. Where? No. We use fire to seal the heads of the necks you chop.
Go on.
So that the Hydra can't grow more heads. Got it? No, but I don't need to.
Hercules leapt into action. He cut the mighty Hydra's head. Slash, and Aeolus sealed the wound. Tss, cut, seal, cut, seal, cut, seal. On and on this went until finally but one head remained. The Hydra's immortal head.
No matter,
said Hercules as he charged towards the disgusting snake. Hercules killed the Hydra and buried its immortal head, completing his second labor. And as a bonus, the Hydra dropped some sick loot. Hydra's venom. One touch from this toxic goo, and any mortal surely would perish. These arrows would be Hercules' greatest ally and greatest foe. But for now, Hercules returned, and in disbelief, Eurystheus said,
What? That's impossible. How could you have...
Oh, I helped him.
What did you say?
There was like a giant crab, and that wasn't part of the deal, so I figured I'd just even things out.
Aeolus,
Yes, father?
grab my belt.
Eurystheus was incredulous, so he tried a new approach, a labor involving stamina instead of strength. The Cernaean hind, a deer of unmatched speed. A near impossible task, and Eurystheus knew this, for he was counting on his trump card, the goddess Artemis, protector of the great beast. If, by some miracle, Hercules actually managed to catch the deer, surely Artemis would seek vengeance and kill Hercules. Clearly, the task was impossible. Hercules would fail, and this whole sham would end.
Hey, I've got the deer. What? Artemis just let me have it.
Labor 3 complete, but Labor 4 was perhaps the simplest of tasks.
Bring me bacon.
Hercules was sent to capture the Erymanthian boar. Simple and straightforward. Find the boar, tie it up, Labor 4 complete. One would think it almost not worth recounting. But something critical happened on the road to this labor. For on the outskirts of Argolis, near the plum drop forests, Hercules met a most unexpected creature.
Oh, hey, Hercules. Jesus, Pholus. You startled me. What's a Jesus? I don't know.
For it was Pholus and Chiron, two old centaur friends of Hercules, and to celebrate the reunion, they would have a great feast. There was wine, there was roast beast, there was even plum peach. Now after some drinking and eating, Hercules wandered off and stumbled into the house of Pholus, where he spotted a most tempting sight.
Come to Papa.
A bottle of wine. Hercules cracked it, and the world was never the same. A stampede of centaurs rushed into the camp, saying,
Where is it? Where is the wine?
Apparently, the wine Hercules had opened was sacred. Communal property of the centaurs. They accost Hercules, who, as we know, had a temper.
You suck, murderer! How's your family?
Things escalate, and the red haze descended. Hercules massacred the centaurs, shooting them down with his poison-tip arrows, and after the red haze lifted, only Pholus remained. All the other centaurs had died or fled, to which Pholus said,
Oh, Hercules, what have you done? I'd probably categorize this as genocide. Yes, genocide indeed. Well, I fear this probably won't be the last time you hear from my people. Here, take this. You'll probably need it. I'm dead.
Pholus accidentally drops a poison arrow on his hoof and dies. But this wouldn't be the end of this saga, for one centaur, Nessus, survived and began to plan his revenge. But for now, Hercules returned with the Erymanthian boar, a most hideous sight, so hideous, in fact, that the king leapt into a jar out of fear and said,
Is it real?
It was very real and very alive, per the king's own request, and so the very annoyed Hercules simply asked for his next labor, and labor he would receive.
I don't give a shit. Just go! Wait, that's it. Give a shit?
Hercules' next task would be his least dangerous but most peculiar. Clean the Augean stables. Sounds simple, but there's a catch. They haven't been cleaned in 30 years, and a wall of stench surrounds the stables. Impenetrable it stood. And so what did Hercules do? He diverted 2 rivers and cleaned out the stables using nature swiftly and effectively. And as a bonus, the poop fertilized the land. Very creative, and he'd need that creativity for his next labor, birds. The Stymphalian birds. But these were no ordinary birds. They had iron beaks and harder personalities. They murdered innocent people and stole lots of food. And so Hercules traveled to a lake to confront them. But it wasn't so easy. How could he drive away such a wide flock? This wasn't some singular monster. Well, when in doubt, Hercules could always count on one thing. Not his intellect, but rather help from the gods.
What the? Is that what I think it is?
A rattle. The goddess Athena would leave a golden rattle for Hercules. An odd gift, but it must have some use. So Hercules grabbed the rattle and traveled to a nearby cliff. The rattle seemingly emitted no noise. That's weird. Minutes passed, then suddenly, a strange sound began to grow on the horizon. And then, just then, they came. The birds descended, crying out in pain. It was as if the rattle itself called to them, nay, commanded them against their will. And with time, the great birds formed a great blob, a flock, an opportunity. So Hercules grabbed his bow and he murdered them. labor 6 was complete, to which the king said,
Oh, bravo. You killed some birds. Man-eating birds. Man-eating birds. I could have done that in my sleep. Perhaps even while hiding in your jar. Hey! Watch your tone, pup. I'm still your king. And I'd like you to fetch me some beef. What kind of beef? There's Angus, Kobe, Impossible, Longhorn, American, South American, Peruvian, Angus, watery beef.
Hercules would be sent to the island of Crete, where a great bull was rampaging across the land. A simple task for a simple man. Hercules simply used his strength to subdue the monster, ride it back across the Mediterranean, and into Mycenae, where Eurystheus hid in a jar once again, and hastily sent Hercules towards his next labor. The mares of Diomedes, just go! And so, Hercules now made his way towards Thrace, the home of these mares of Diomedes. Simple enough, just wrangle 4 horses and bring them back. Hercules felt very confident. So confident, in fact, that he brought along a friend, Abderus. The two arrived in Thrace, where Hercules left Abderus to inspect the horses while he went to parley with the lord of the manor.
And that is why I will give you 3 tomatoes, 2 chickens, and a barrel of... What the? Abderus.
It turns out these horses were far from ordinary. After years of being fed human flesh, the horses had become mad. They raged and attacked all who came close. And to make matters worse, they breathed fire. And it appeared as though Abderus would be their next snack.
Ah! They're eating me! They're eating me and it hurts!
Abderus would die. And Hercules got angry. Real angry. He stormed into the hall of the king, grabbed the great lord with his great hands, and tossed him to his own wretched horses. But just then, something remarkable happened. The horses lost the taste for human flesh. Apparently their insane master didn't taste very good, and forevermore the mares of Diomedes would swear off human flesh and become quite docile. So docile, in fact, that Hercules could simply return them back to Mycenae. Labor 7 complete, and for once the king would not be the one to give Hercules his next task.
Oh, thank you, Daddy.
It would be his daughter, Admethe, who said,
I'd like you, yes, to get me, yes, the girdle of Hippolyta. What the fuck's a girdle?
Hercules, for the first time, would have a non-beast-based task. He must attain the girdle of Hippolyta, a daughter of Ares and the queen of the Amazons, warrior women famed for their battle prowess. And this girdle, allegedly, granted invulnerability on the battlefield. Now, how Hercules was going to defeat that which can't be defeated, he didn't know. But he must try, for that is his penance.
All right, men. Let's set up camp.
And so he brought a band of soldiers and set up camp. But it was quiet. Almost too quiet. And the men felt uneasy.
Something doesn't feel right. I can't explain it. It's this forest. Yeah. I feel like I'm being watched.
Anaduna faroare. Iseraduna bantus. Ashtarod nefanas.
The men were surrounded by the Amazons. But just as all seemed lost, Hippolyta appeared. and offered kindness.
Hail, Hercules. We come in peace.
She said, to which the men replied,
Don't believe her, sir. They just want to breed with us and then murder us all. Everyone knows the stories. Silence, Kentuckius. You will not disrespect our hosts, especially ones so beautiful. Plus, of all the ways to die, that doesn't sound so bad.
And so Heracles and Hippolyta would meet privately to exchange information. Hippolyta listened with curiosity to Heracles' next labor, her girdle, an unreasonable request. It was a gift from her father Ares, and Heracles had no right. Yet alas, Hippolyta gave it all the same, as she hoped to help this great hero on his great quest. Easy peasy. This mission is over. However, while this was happening, Hera got up to her old, typical nonsense.
Heracles can't be trusted. They're going to harm the queen. We must slaughter them all.
She disguised herself as an Amazon and started a squabble against Heracles and his men. Fights break out, and when Heracles emerged from Hippolyta's tent, he was met with a most unpleasant sight. His men were slaughtered, and as always, the red haze began to descend.
Welp, time to kill some women again. Heracles, I swear, I had nothing to do with it.
Heracles killed Hippolyta and slaughtered the other women. It was butchery, but his labor was complete. Yet there were no cheers, no guffaws, for although he approached his 10th and final labor, the bloodshed wore on his soul. But he had to push on and receive his final task.
More beef.
The king requested the cattle of Geryon, an island on the edge of the world. It would be a long journey through many treacherous environments, brutal seas and hot deserts, but Heracles had to forge on. First, the desert. Heracles trudged the sandy land for what seemed an eternity. On and on he walked, yet the bad land seemed to stretch on endlessly. Hours felt like days, and days like weeks. The hot sun assaulted Heracles, who, out of frustration, shot it with an arrow, and naturally incurred the sun god's wrath.
Hey! What the f***, dude? Your sun is shining all over my face. Yeah, that's what it does. Yeah, well, not anymore. Okay, be cool. Be cool. Here, take this. A cup? Is this a joke? No, I swear, this is not a joke. Here, watch this. Huh? Oh. God, you're a dick.
Helios, the sun god, gave a giant cup to Heracles. But why? Well, it would allow him to utilize the seas for travel instead of the desert. This allowed him to safely make it to the island of Geryon, where Heracles killed a dog, killed a man, and killed a giant. He rounded up the cattle and drove them back through Europe and towards Greece. And soon enough, Mycenae was in sight, and more importantly, Heracles' freedom, as the king sat there upon his throne and thought how best to relieve Heracles of his duty.
No, I think you owe me 2 more.
Eurystheus claimed Heracles owed 2 extra labors. But why? Well, apparently Heracles had broken the rules. With the Hydra, he received aid, and with the stables, he accepted payment. So now Heracles would receive an 11th and 12th labor. First, the apples of the Hesperides. These golden fruits gave immortality However, a 100-headed dragon guarded the tree, yet this was the least of Hercules' issues.
Where the fuck?
As he would first have to locate the garden, a mystery to all mortals, so Hercules traveled far and wide. From sea to shining sea, he searched. Under this rock, over this tree, and in everyone's backyard. He traveled and he traveled until finally he came across a clue. A big clue. A titan.
Oh, hey, what's up, Hercules? Not much. What's going on with you? Oh, just sitting here, chained up, waiting for my liver to be devoured. Waiting for your liver to be devoured? Mm-hmm. Watch this. 3, 2, 1. Ah! Right on time.
It was Prometheus, the legendary titan that gave man fire, forever doomed to have his liver devoured on a daily basis. But Hercules pitied the immortal, and so he shot the eagle down and freed the titan. In exchange, the titan gave Hercules the location of the apples, but he added a new caveat to the labor.
You cannot take the apples.
No mortal hand could touch the apples, and so Hercules would need the help of a higher being to accomplish this task, and Prometheus, being a higher being, had an idea.
Atlas, my brother, have him take the apples for you.
To which Hercules replied,
F that.
as he traveled to the garden himself and tried to grab the apples. It didn't work. As Prometheus said, Hercules would need Atlas to retrieve them for him. So he traveled to find the great Titan Atlas and offer him a brief respite from his burden.
So you'll take the weight of the world off my shoulders. Mm-hmm. And all I have to do is go apple picking? Yep. And there's no catch. No catch. Okay.
Atlas left, while Hercules bore the weight of the heavens. A heavy burden. Now Hercules was a strong man, but this was a labor perhaps too great for even him. His shoulders shook and his knees nearly buckled, and it seemed as though Hercules was about to collapse. Meanwhile, Atlas picked some apples. Meanwhile, Hercules struggled and struggled. And just as he felt himself faltering, Atlas returned, saying,
I got your apples. Great. No, please, for the love of God, take this.
But at last, Atlas had other ideas. He would deliver the apples himself and leave Hercules to hold up the heavens for a bit longer. He loved his new freedom, and so he said,
I feel alive. But you, old chap, are you okay? I'm fantastic. But could you at least just take the world back for 5 seconds so I can cover my shoulders? And you promise to take the world back once you're ready? I promise. No tricks. No tricks. That seems reasonable to me.
Atlas took the globe back, and Hercules grabbed the basket of apples. The trick, somehow, had worked, and sadly Atlas would be left to hold up the heavens forevermore, even to this very day. Hercules' 11th labor was done, but the 12th and final would be perhaps his toughest.
Cerberus. Or is it Kerberos?
And so Hercules left for his final mission, Cerberus, the 3-headed dog of the underworld. Subduing the beast was one thing, but bringing him out of hell seemed impossible. But he had no other choice, so Hercules leapt into action and towards the underworld. But the underworld is a labyrinth, a twisting maze of tortured souls and broken heroes. So the god Hermes would guide Hercules through, until finally he brought him to the Lord of the Underworld, Hades, who said,
Why should I give you my favorite dog? Or is it dogs?
a fair question. So Hercules played to Hades' heart.
Kindness?
No good. The Lord of the Underworld isn't so kind. So Hercules inquired again.
Generosity?
Nope. No. He isn't generous either. But perhaps the brooding Hades could be convinced another way.
So you're telling me that if I give you my dog, Hera will be super duper pissed? Mm-hmm. And it'll totally spoil her plans?
Yep.
Well, I do hate my family, so just bring him back with 3 heads.
Heracles would retrieve Cerberus and bring him back to Mycenae, where, naturally, the king leapt back into his pot of greed, saying,
Go! You're free! Just take that beast away!
Heracles was finally free. Eurystheus had seen enough and given up. He never wanted to see Heracles or these terrible beasts again. From here, Heracles would go on to many great adventures, winning archery competitions, helping other famous heroes, and exacting revenge on everyone who wronged him. Years passed, and Heracles would marry a woman named Deianira. Heracles settled down, and they had 4 sons and a daughter. Life, once again, was good, until Heracles' temper got the best of him again. He killed another innocent, and so him and his wife left their home to travel till things cooled down. They went to and fro, just enjoying the aimless bliss of retirement, until one day they happened upon a river. A big river. So big, in fact, that the two couldn't cross it safely. But fortunately, a friendly face offered them aid.
Hello there.
It was a centaur who offered to take Deianira across the river safely. What a gentleman. She hopped on his back, and the two began to cross the river. However, this pleasant act of kindness changed in a flash. The centaur threw Heracles' wife to the ground and attempted to violate her. He was fast, but Heracles was faster. He drew his bow and held his breath, and a critical hit to end this senseless act of violence. It turns out this centaur was the very same one that survived Heracles' genocide. He plotted his revenge, and with his final breaths, he said,
Fair lady, I apologize for my brutish behavior. It was unkind. Here, take this vial of my blood, and if Heracles should ever be unfaithful, simply smear it on a cloak and have him wear it. Then he will fall back in love with you. And this definitely is not a trick. That seems pretty reasonable.
Despite just having been betrayed by that centaur, Deianira accepted his blood. Years passed, and sure enough, Heracles fell in love with another woman. So Deianira retrieved the blood, put it on a shirt, and offered it to her husband. All she had to do now was sit back and let his eyes fall upon her.
My back is on fire.
Hercules sprang up from his chair, writhing in pain. He tried to throw the shirt off himself, but it stuck like superglue, only tearing away his skin and burning him deeply. Hercules screamed and screamed until finally he gave in, grabbing some wood and building himself a pyre. Hercules burnt himself alive. Finally, a labor he couldn't conquer.
Finally, I am free.
And on that day, Heracles' immortal life came to an end. Yet it was not over, for his father Zeus took up his son's soul and brought him to Olympus to forever live out his days with the gods. And someday he would even save the gods. But that is a story for another day.
Zeus, come quick. God damn it, Hermes. Didn't I tell you never to interrupt my daily vlog? It's the giants. They've come to take Olympus. And so it begins.